Man, what are you doing? Kornheiser couldn't come to work. They interrupted your vacation on Miami Beach. What's going on with that?
Well, he actually traveled with me. It's hip-hop week in Miami. The original OG is hanging out by the pool. Or is it the old G? Something like
that would, just be very, very old G. Welcome to PTI. Kornheiser has the day off, so I am joined happily by our great friend from the New York Daily News, Mr. Frank Isola.
There.
Hip-hop weekend, huh? We begin, of course, with Cleveland's rousing Game 7 win on the road in Boston over the Celtics. And that discussion has to begin with LeBron James, whose sixth straight Game 7 win and his second one this postseason puts the Cavaliers in the NBA Finals for the fourth straight time, and LeBron himself in the championship series for the eighth consecutive season. It has to be mentioned that the young Celtics, previously a perfect 10-0 at home in these playoffs, were dreadful, seemed completely overwhelmed by the moment. Frank, was this a case of the Cavs winning it or the Celtics showing their age?
Yeah, well, it was a little of both, unfortunately, for the Celtics. 7 of 39 on threes. They shot way too many threes. But I think we all knew that coming into this game that LeBron was going to play well. The key was, how would that supporting cast do, especially with Kevin Love not playing? The other four starters had 47 points. And then in the fourth quarter, there were 5 Cavalier players not named LeBron James that scored, and they scored 16. So LeBron, once again, brilliant, Michael, but to me, it was the role players, Jeff Green, George Hill, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson, those guys coming through.
Yeah, Frank, I think I agree with you on both parts of that. When J.R. Smith hit that first three of that game, which was his first one in Boston in the series, you're like, uh-oh. When he drains the second one, I thought that when the Celtics blew the 12-point lead early, they were done. And they kept jacking up threes, like you said. And, Jason Tatum, who we'll get to more in detail in a second, was great. And the other ones were just not ready. And they seemed to panic. And there was nothing you're going to do about it, because I always say young guys don't do anything in the NBA. These young guys came close to doing something, close. But ultimately, they couldn't cash in. So LeBron was great. He got just enough help. Frank, if he gets any help, it seems like he is absolutely going to win.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, being up 12 in the first half with 9 minutes to go. The Celtics go into the locker room only up 4, and meanwhile, LeBron James in the other locker room. Then I thought a big key, Jason Tatum, the great dunk on LeBron, then he hits a three. That makes it 72-71 Boston. The crowd is into it. What happens? Jeff Green, of all people, corner three. Then Tristan Thompson, a dunk, and that gave them the lead for good.
Nice
I thought that was
pass from
huge.
LeBron. I agree. That sequence right there, 72-71. You're like, the Celtics have to do this here. They have to maintain this lead, and they couldn't hold it for like 10 seconds.
Yeah. All right, and as you know, LeBron's play this postseason is off the charts. He's averaging 34 points per game and is back in the NBA Finals, like you said, Michael, for an 8th straight year. He had another epic Game 7 on Sunday. So you know where this is going, Michael. Is LeBron making a compelling case as the game's greatest player ever?
You know what? That argument, and we're down to 2 people, because nobody even mentions Kareem anymore, and they should. Nobody mentions Magic anymore, and they should. They just have condensed this to Michael and LeBron. And you know what? Some other time, I'll indulge it. Today, no. I just want to enjoy what LeBron James is doing. Frank, I think this is the greatest postseason run I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been following the NBA professionally for 38 years and watching it all my life, just in terms of one guy and his impact game after game.
Is it better than 2 years ago when he's down 3-1 to the 73-win Golden State Warriors?
I think it is. I think that team, Frank, and you tell me if you disagree, I think that team, even minus Love and Kyrie, I think that team was a little bit better than this team. This team was thrown together out of nowhere at the trade deadline. They looked dead in the water 2 games into the first round. Frank, this to me is not only his greatest work, but again, and look, Magic, people forget, Magic went to the finals 9 times in 12 years, for crying out loud. It's greater than anything I've ever seen. His ability to just get 40 points plus triple-double numbers otherwise, game after game after game.
It's funny. You mentioned Magic Johnson and Kareem. Kobe threw himself into the debate. He tweeted out after the game at 11:30 last night, "We can enjoy one without tearing down one." I love what he's doing. He's talking about, obviously, LeBron. "Don't debate what can't be definitively won by anyone. Hashtag enjoy my 5. Hashtag enjoy MJ 6. And then he says of LeBron, enjoy LBJ Quest. So I love how Kobe conveniently puts himself into this debate
Kobe
with Michael
belongs
and
in
LeBron.
there. Kobe belongs, Frank. Remember, 6, 7 years ago, what were we talking about then after Kobe had won 5? Everybody was saying, okay, it's Kobe with MJ. Look, again, not today.
But today,
I'm not getting stuck in that. I'm not getting stuck in that. What LeBron is doing right now is sort of a basketball miracle, and it needs to be appreciated on its own without comparison to me.
Yeah. And he played, remember, too, all 48 minutes, and he's played in 100 straight games. Game 1 of the NBA Finals, first time in his career he's ever played 101 games in a season. Remarkable.
All the minutes. That's Wilt-like. And, there's only one of that guy, too. Even as the Celtics folded, everybody in the sport looks at Boston's roster and projects future championships, plural. Jason Tatum going head-to-head with LeBron seems to have established himself as the NBA's next superstar, and he's just 20. Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, and that entire ensemble will be strengthened by the return of Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. Frank, are you certain the Celtics will ascend in the East, or are there moves to make to assure yesterday doesn't become Groundhog Day?
You know what? Let me get back to you when I get the Celtics team doctor on the phone, because I want to know how Kyrie Irving's doing. To me, that's the key. If you look the last 3 years, he's played 53 games, 72 games. This year he played 60. And guess what? They did terrific without him in the playoffs up until Game 7. They needed someone with some poise, with, a superstar player to control things, get to the basket instead of jacking up threes all game long. They have a terrific team. And Danny Ainge does an outstanding job. They still have assets to make moves. But I think Tatum, Brown are absolutely keepers. To me, it's about Kyrie Irving's health. They needed him yesterday at home in that game.
If they'd had Hayward yesterday. But I think I agree with you. I know I tweeted out yesterday at some point when the Celtics were bricking three-pointers, let's not talk about trading Kyrie. All right? Because Kyrie Irving could help them in that situation dramatically. That's what you need, a guy who can score on his own. They're going to have to figure it out, right? I mean, they talk about this wonderful coaching staff, and it is, but they're going to have to figure out how to reincorporate Kyrie. You would think that Gordon Hayward being inserted into that lineup might be easier, considering he's playing for the coach he played for in college. You would think. But remember how the Bulls looked like the next great challenger, and then Derrick Rose goes down? Indiana at one point, when they had that big lineup that was supposed to give LeBron some troubles, and did, the Pacers, but then all of a sudden they were ether. They were gone. And so we've had team after team. Atlanta was supposed to pose a threat. Now they're rebuilding. Frank, you can't take anything for granted now.
No, and that's why when you get close like that, it's disappointing when you don't win. Now, Terry Rozier was a revelation in the playoffs, and he was great in Game 6. 7, he goes 0 for 10 on threes. I felt bad for him because he's such a competitor. Wow. The other guy to remember, though, Marcus Smart. He's a restricted free agent. He's already said after the game last night, I'm worth more than $12 to $14 million. You need him. Now, you cringe when he shoots the ball. I get that. He was a +1 last night. He makes plays. He's tough defensively. He passes the ball.
Great defensively.
I think that's the one guy. That's the guy they have to make sure they bring back.
They got to bring him back, you're saying. They got to bring Marcus Smart back.
Absolutely they do.
Okay.
I think Danny Ainge has been smart at getting rid of guys. He got rid of Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas.
Gets rid of the right guy at the right time. He does.
But you know what? His kind of toughness, I don't know. To me, that's a glue kind of player. They need him. All right, we have a Game 7 tonight in the Western Conference Finals. The Warriors, who saved their season on Saturday, will again be without Andre Iguodala, while Chris Paul, nursing a hamstring injury, is a game-time decision. All right, Michael, what do you expect tonight, Game 7 in Houston?
Too little has been made of Andre Iguodala missing all these games.
Yeah.
Andre Iguodala is incredibly important to Golden State. But even having said that, you wouldn't argue that he's any more than the 5th most important player on the team. You're not going to put him ahead in any sort of ranking ahead of the other 4 guys.
No.
Chris Paul's the best player the Rockets have. He's the most clutch player. He's the best leader. Defensively, in terms of out in the perimeter, in the backcourt, Chris Paul's a, 7 or 8-time all-defensive team player in the NBA. Chris Paul's the most important Rocket. I don't care that James Harden's going to be the MVP of the league, and justifiably so. Chris Paul. And I can't see, I know game-time decision, I don't know what that means. You remember when Magic Johnson tried to play on a busted hamstring in the NBA Finals?
That's right.
I think it was Game 2. The Pistons were, going to take a lead there. Magic tried to play. He couldn't. You can't shoot up a hammy. You can't, Frank. You can shoot up an ankle. This is a hamstring. I don't see how Chris Paul, even if he's out there, can be effective.
Yeah, and I don't know. Are they looking for maybe a Willis Reed kind of moment? But as we know, Michael, that only lasts for a couple of minutes, and everything eventually settles down. They're 15-10 this season without Chris Paul, but we saw how much they missed him in Game 6. And I get it. He could sit there on the bench lobbying the referees all day long, and sometimes it works because he has the respect of the officials. But in that second half, when they're scoring, the Houston Rockets under Mike D'Antoni are scoring 25 points in the second half. That's almost hard to believe. To me, that was more amazing than what Klay Thompson did. That they could be held to 16 in the third quarter, 9 in the fourth, and to me, that's because Chris Paul's not there. They need that leadership out there.
They do. And I don't want to overstate it because, look, they're playing at home. They saw what they could do in the first half at Golden State. I think some of that can be transported, some of it.
Yeah.
But you're asking a lot. I mean, and P.J. Tucker and Trevor Ariza have been tough. And really, Eric Gordon, these guys have been tough defensively. But here's the thing to me, Klay Thompson. If the Warriors go back to just trying to post up Kevin Durant and getting out of the flow of a beautiful passing offense, they're crazy. Klay Thompson, when he has games like that, that's when the Warriors are unbeatable like they were 3 years ago. So I don't know what to expect anymore. I don't. I think Houston's going to be really tough physically, and I think this is going to be a game, Frank. I think there's no way to just presume.
Give me a winner. Who are you taking? Who do you have?
I'm leaning heavily toward Golden State because unless there is a Willis Reed moment out of Chris Paul or more than one, it's just hard to see them being able to sustain that without him. He's too good. He's great player.
Yeah, this could divide some legacies. Remember, Mike D'Antoni's never been this far before in the playoffs. And then for James Harden, he had 9 turnovers the last game. He's going to be the MVP of the league. This could be a big moment for him tonight.
Playoff moment.
I think it's going to be Golden State, though. Golden State's too good.
The NBA does not have the stage to itself, Frank, as the Stanley Cup final begins tonight in Las Vegas. The storylines are very clear. The Capitals, after decades of disappointment, are trying to win their first cup. And the Vegas Golden Knights, after 8 months of existence, are trying to become the greatest expansion team in American sports. Frank, which team would be the better winner for the NHL?
Well, we talk so much about LeBron and, the NBA being a star-driven league. When I look at the NHL, Alex Ovechkin, that is, one of the marquee stars. He has over 600 goals, never been in a Stanley Cup final. This is going to be his first time there. And I get it. What Vegas has done is incredible. And really what they've done is they put Vegas on the map in terms of being a big-time sports city. They're going to get the Raiders there, but the hockey team, the tickets for tonight's game are, on the secondary market are off the charts. So Vegas has already won in a lot of ways, but I think the NHL with Ovechkin and the Caps, I think it'd be the better story.
You know what, Frank? It's hard for me to see outside this of having lived and worked in Washington for nearly 40 years now. My whole adult life I've lived there. People I know closely for a long time root for the Capitals. I know it's a big story regionally and locally. But, Frank, as I travel around the country, people aren't talking about the Capitals. People talk about the Vegas Golden Knights and the novelty of this.
They don't know anybody on Vegas, though.
They may not, but they know those jerseys. They know that team is playing in this sort of glamorous role as an expansion underdog. They might know Ovechkin, and again, I'm rooting for that, but I think that's the off story. I think the Vegas Golden Knights and their continuance is the big deal for the NHL, whether anybody wants to admit it publicly or not.
And by the way, Marc-Andre Fleury, he'll be in goal. The last time he started a Stanley Cup final, 8 years, 350 days ago. Yeah, he won the last 2 with Pittsburgh, but he was on the bench.
A while ago.
But you know what? He does have a history of beating Washington.
And a star. He's a star. May not be Ovechkin, Frank, but he's a star. Let's take a break. But coming up, what should we make of LeBron's very brief handshake, if you want to call it that, with Dan Gilbert?
And would NFL players sit out in solidarity with Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed?
Yeah, this is a story I don't quite understand.
I like how you said you live in Washington. You're never in Washington.
I said live and work.
DiGiorno, he's a big
Neither of us is in the studio. Washington, D.C. people, not Bristol. But somehow the mailbox made its way all the way down to Frank in Miami. What's the first issue, Frank?
Yeah, we flew down together. He used your name at the ticket counter, got bumped up to first class.
I got some influence.
All right, here's your first one. What did you read into Dan Gilbert's handshake with LeBron? This was pretty interesting last night.
Not a thing. Not a thing. I mean, anybody who's been paying attention for the last, 8 years to these two, no, they don't get along particularly. Yeah, there's a working relationship, a partnership, if you will, between star and icon, owner and icon. But he may as well be in Cleveland anyway if they're going to play like this, and it really has nothing to do with Gilbert. Just sign the checks, big boy.
Yeah, and I think LeBron still hasn't fully forgiven him for that letter that he wrote when LeBron left the first time.
Yeah.
But I also think now, you mentioned LeBron coming back to Cleveland, which I think is certainly in play. He dominates the Eastern Conference. You're going to have a healthy Kevin Love. You have that 8th overall pick. Maybe you could use that in a trade to bring in a player. So this
There's no tailor-made situation anywhere else. No. Cleveland looks as good as any place. They don't have to hug it out every day either.
The run.
What's next?
Next letter.
All right. The run is not over. All right. Do you buy that some NFL players could sit out until Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reid have jobs?
Listen, this sounds preposterous. And Sean King, a former New York Daily News columnist, colleague of yours and civil rights activist, has said that several star NFL players told him they plan to sit out the season until Kaepernick and Reid are back on teams, and that he's been told that maybe as much as 25% of NFL players would sit out the season. No, I don't believe a word of that. Not a word of it. I mean, it's easy to tell people
What's
that
your definition of a star? What's your definition?
I don't think any player. If you're not a star,
Rodgers?
You ain't sitting out. Because you don't make enough money. It's not international soccer. It's not the NBA. I don't believe that. You can support them. You can protest. A lot of people will support them, Frank. But sit out. We're talking self-preservation.
If you have the money, you could sit out. But if you don't have the money, come on.
What 25 to 30-year-old keeps that? Come on.
All right, here we go. Does Giancarlo Stanton still deserve the home booze that he gets?
You know what? This is over. He struck out 4 times yesterday. Didn't play today, but he struck out 4 times. He's now only hitting .202 at home. About 75% of his strikeouts have come at home in Yankee Stadium. His 11 home runs are just tied for 12th in the league. It's just stupid to boo him. He's going to get the numbers eventually. Yankees have been playing well. It's dumb to me, but you live there and work there. What do you think?
You know what? Everybody goes through it. Alex Rodriguez went through it. Even Reggie Jackson went through it.
Jeter.
Mark Teixeira went through it. Yeah, but he didn't come in as the big free agent sign or the big trade and making this type of money that Stanton is making. Guess what? Whatever Stanton does, and they didn't put him out there today against Justin Verlander, who beat the Yankees 5-1. But Stanton, it's all going to be judged on how he does in October. That's what we do here in New York. Come on, Michael, you know that. All right, who was the story of the Champions League final, Gareth Bale or Luis Carrias?
Have you seen these goals? You watch. You're a big
broken, and as a parent of a goalkeeper, our great producer, Matt Kelleher, a parent of a goalkeeper, this is a nightmare that we have.
It is, man.
And we felt awful for the goal. But I'll tell you what, Gareth Bale to score a goal like that, to give your team the lead at 2-1, a bicycle kick, that is, as they say in soccer, magisterial, Michael. Incredible.
Thanks for your email. Let's take one last break, but still to come. Did Kyrie have a good excuse for missing Game 7? Is there such a thing?
And Des Bryant, remember him? He appears to have decided on a team he wants to play for. But should that team want him?
Yeah, this is less about fit in the NFL. You go. It's happy time, people. Happy 80th birthday, Jerry West. Perhaps nobody in the history of professional basketball has more fascinating history than West, who played with Baylor and Wilt, was eclipsed time after time by the Russell and Auerbach Celtics, restored the Lakers to glory by drafting Kobe and trading for Shaq, and became the league's logo. For my money, Frank, there's no more engaging a man and no better storyteller than Jerry West.
He entered the league in 1960. That's 58 years ago. He is the NBA. That's why he's the logo.
And we'll go out and take your money on the golf course, too, even right now at 80. Happy anniversary, Barry Bonds. 12 years ago today, you hit your 715th career home run to surpass the Babe. Bonds would finish with 762. But how you feel about steroids probably dictates whether you feel the deserving record holder is Bonds or Henry Aaron, whose 755 is the proper record for some of us.
I remember Barry Bonds as a member of Pittsburgh. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I still do. Thought it then, still think it now.
Happy trails, Danica Patrick. 13 years after becoming the first woman to lead the Indianapolis 500, Patrick hit the turn 2 wall less than halfway through yesterday's race and was done. It is said to be her final Indy 500 and was something of a flashback since she long ago left IndyCar racing for what us old-timers call stock cars. Difficult to believe that Patrick, still just 36 years old, is actually done with racing.
Yeah, she had a great career. By the way, you didn't mention it. Will Power won the race.
Will Power, that's right. 2 corrections real quick. I said Kyrie and Kevin Love were injured in the finals 2 years ago. It was 3 years ago, and it's Loris Frank, not Luis or Lois. We're running out of show quickly. Let's get to the big finish. Kyrie missed Sunday's Game 7 because he had surgery for a deviated septum. Is that a good excuse?
Yes, he was at other games. I'm not going crazy over that. Venus lost in the first round of the French. Are you surprised?
Ninth seed, but no, not at this point. I'm not surprised. The Braves, Ronald Acuna is going on the DL with a mild sprain of his left ACL. Good news?
If you saw the way it happened, it's really good news. That looked to be really bad, so good for him. All right, Clayton Kershaw will return from the DL on Thursday. Is that a big deal?
Dodgers 3.5 out. Great deal for them. Last one, Des Bryant posted and deleted on Instagram. He wants to go to the Niners. Is that a good fit?
Hey, they got a good quarterback. Why not? All right, we're out of time. Thanks for watching. I'm Frank Isola.
And I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, look.